Just look how lush and green everything is now. It's insane. It's insane. It is June 4th and I have never had tomatoes this big. I'll come over here. Those are 5-foot T-posts, and that tomato, look how close it is to being to the top. And we have tons of fruit. Pretty good sized fruit in some spots already. Here's some little bitty ones, and see if I can find a bigger one. Here's a nice size one right down in there, if you can see it. It's really hard to get the leaves out of the way, but it's back there. And there's a little one on top of it. Just so much fruit in here. I've never had this many tomatoes and this big of tomato plants this early in June before. Never. Look at that. There's a whole cluster in there. There's like 10 tomatoes on that one plant. How crazy is that? I know the camera is not going to do it justice, but it's huge. And our basil is just kind of meandering along. I keep coming out and picking it off, and I've decided to throw oh excuse me, I'm out of breath, throw a squash in here. I believe that is a green cushaw squash, just to kind of cover the ground. And let's see, oh, we got some pole beans over here. These are the shelling beans, and look at these tomatoes, just amazingly huge. And then we have some smaller tomatoes that started a little bit later. These were some volunteers. And we have some herbs back in there amongst the weeds. And along this side we have our peppers. And this little guy here, I'm not sure if this is a tomato or a tomatillo. It does have flower buds, so we'll be able to tell shortly if it has a husk or not. I don't think it does, but it's hard to tell. It's too small right now. So here is our peppers. Let's see. This one here is a jalapeno. This one here is a large Marconi, red Marconi pepper. And I've picked some peppers already off them. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. This one is one of the bell peppers. Let's see, what kind of bell pepper? Oh, it is just a plain yellow bell. I've picked the early peppers off so that way it can produce more. And then you can see some dill in there, quite a bit of dill in there. And this is the large red Marconi pepper right here. And then some more dill. My neighbor girl's tomato. It's about tripled in size. If I had to guess, it's probably about 2.5 feet tall now. Trying to keep it growing in its cage. And then this is orange bell pepper. Then on this side we have a random sunflower that was topped really early on by something, and it grew 2 heads and it's staying really small. It's only like 1.5 feet tall, and I think we're already getting a flower head on it. Yeah, that's definitely flowers. So that's cool. It's like a pygmy. And then we got our green beans. Well, these are actually 3 different kinds of beans here. We have butter beans, regular green beans, I think jade green beans, and purple potted beans. And then more tomatoes. Now these are the ones in my last video that were still really small. And as you can see where they are on their poles, they have grown tremendously too. We've had so much rain. Here are the summer and winter squash, some of them. Oh, and I see a little baby pumpkin right there. Its blossom is about to open. I will hand pollinate that one tomorrow. So we have all kinds of pumpkins and different kinds of squash. They always get mixed up every year. Don't ask me why. I try really hard, but I'm not good at labeling. But I like to see the surprise. And I know there's a whole... Actually, this might have came out of the variety pack, so I would have never known anyways, because it's just a bunch of seeds thrown in a seed pocket. And then growing over here, now if you go back to the first garden tour, these cucumbers were barely out of the ground, and that was like 3 weeks ago. So all this rain has really just done its thing. Here's an idea of this sea of pumpkins and different squashes. And right up in here we have some zucchini. Let me see, I know there's some zucchini babies in here, if I can find one to show. Yep. Whoops, excuse the leaves. See that little guy right there? And there's a whole bunch of them next to him too. And I've seen some cucumber babies in here, but they're tiny. And somehow a sweet dumpling squash wound up on this trellis. I don't care. I can't wait to see it grow. But yeah, these cucumbers are massive, and the trellis is doing its job. They're climbing up good. I was really wanting to be able to get good airflow. It's supposed to be a really humid summer, and so far it has lived up to the expectation. Okay, and right here, let's see, this is a yellow squash plant. See the little tiny yellow baby squash there. And then we have some more zucchini and yellow squash over here. We got a little bitty baby squash down there under the flower. And one on the end of that flower. Yeah. All kinds of baby things growing in there. And then on this side is, these I'm pretty sure are all pumpkins that are grown in here, different kinds of pumpkins. Of course I won't know until they put on fruit, and those massive things are the volunteer sunflowers. They are taller than the garage now, so they are probably well over 10 foot tall. They're massive. And then down in this side area, it's hard to keep this part weeded, but there's some zinnias growing down there, some marigolds, and I put some extra squash that I have. These are golden, let me see, golden Hubbard squash, which is a orange pumpkin, but it's not like a basic orange pumpkin. And then I have some sunflowers, and then there's some marigolds, and you can see all the squash plants growing in amongst the sunflowers. Fun fact, I did not know that sunflowers and squash are really good to plant together, because sunflowers attract something called a big-footed bug, and it almost looks like a squash bug, but it has big legs and they're larger, and they are a predator of the squash bug, and they do a very effective job. And there's also another thing that is attracted from the sunflowers, and it eats the larva, and I can't remember what bug it is, but it's another predator bug. And last but not least is the experiment bed. This one was a bunch of sunflowers, gourds, and pumpkins and winter squash. Unfortunately, as you can see, everything is pretty well stunted. See these weird little holes? Someone will probably know what's doing it, if it's birds or if it is squirrels. I think it's birds, because they're not huge. They're, compared to my hand, they're pretty little. But something is definitely digging in there, and also we have a pretty good insect problem. So this might be a flop, but it was just an experiment. The sunflowers and the pumpkins on that side are doing a lot better than the ones on this side. But we do have some gourds that are finally starting to take off. And that is the garden tour for this week. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.